Hello there, good morning. Welcome to another edition of Knocks to Nuggets. My name is Oluwayomi Ute, and it's such a joy to come your way this very beautiful morning. Thank God always for the gift of life. We never take it for granted. And thank God for you. I am because you are. Thank you for giving me this share of your time. Thank you for joining me every time. And for those that would watch after on, I still say a big thank you. Thank you for giving me a share of your time. And like I will always say, please like the video, share it, let somebody out there know that there is something called Knocks to Nuggets. And yes, we have a target now. Somebody reached out to me last week and said, "Can we get 1,000 subscribers in this month?" And I said, "Yes, it's possible. But the only way I can do it is if you join hands with me. Share this video to somebody out there. Encourage somebody there to subscribe and also turn on the notification button that every single time I'm on, you will immediately be notified." So, today we are continuing in the family series, but this time we are talking about children and we are really talking about parenting. And I have a guest with me in the house that really has all that we need, and we'll be gleaning from him for the next 2 weeks. My guest is a dynamic, hardworking, and passionate man with creative and innovative mind. Hmm. He has been facilitating trainings for individuals in schools, religious, and corporate organizations. He's a graduate of psychology with a master's degree in developmental psychology with a research focus on child psychology from the Lancaster University, United Kingdom. He has worked with children at various levels and has built a foundation for understanding children's behavior in each stage of life, how emotion, personality, and cognitive thinking are developed, and how social, cultural, and environmental influences affect child development are his terrain. He has a well-rounded foundation of knowledge and skills that has prepared him for assessment, consultation, prevention, intervention, research, and collaboration with children, parents, educators, administrators, and community members to promote learning while identifying evidence-based practices that address the needs of the child. He has organized and facilitated training sessions for teachers on child and adolescent psychology for so many A-list schools. In addition, he works as a psychologist where he provides mental health and psychosocial support for those living in conflict zone. He has worked on projects funded by the United Nations Children Emergency Fund, UNICEF, United Nations Population Fund, Dutch government, and several others. I've taken my time to reel a CV so you know that you are in good hands today. So joining me today to talk about developmental stages in children, help me receive on the Knox to Nuggets platform. Thank God, Ocheho. Hey, good to
Good
have you in the
morning.
house. Good morning.
Good morning, Ma. Good morning. How are you doing? How's your night?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much. And thank you for agreeing to do this early morning.
Problem.
Now,
Thank you for inviting me also. It's a pleasure.
thank you so much. And I just want to ask you that basic question. Who is a child?
Well, I think the question it looks so simple, but again, for some people, it seems to be very complicated. You know, legally speaking, we hear that a child is anyone that is below the age of 18 years. You know, and some people will tell you that a child is that person that is immature, irresponsible. you know there's also a
Mm,
place for those that believe in the holy scriptures that says foolishness abounds in the heart of a child. You get, so there are different categories or characteristics that we can use to define who a child is, but let's just go by the law and say a child is anyone who is growing and is below the age of 18 years Oh,
Wow. I love what the law says, but do children agree? I have a 2-year-old that will tell you I am not a child. And then I have a 25 that will say adulthood is a scam. I'm still a child.
mm,
And
mm.
so,
I think,
go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, I think basically is there's something about the meaning of a word. What it means to you depends on your interpretation about it. There is nothing wrong being a child. Neither is there anything wrong being an adult. It's a stage of life which everyone will go
Mm,
through, except if one dies. But you definitely go through that stage. So there is nothing wrong. I think we need to set this straight so that people feel comfortable, be who they are. You are a child today, it doesn't mean you remain a child forever. So it's a stage that you must accept as your reality. You understand? And embrace that reality, embrace the benefit that comes along with it, and the challenges also that come along with it, and
mm,
see. So it's not a definition of, it's not an argument of whether it's good or bad. It's a stage of life that we must all go through. So don't see being a child as something that is bad. It's something that should be appreciated. It is something that should be celebrated. It is something that you should be happy about. Face the benefit, face the challenges, live the best of your life as a child before you transition into adulthood.
mm. Live the best of that stage. Now, talking
Yeah.
about that stage, what are the developmental stages with children? And I'm looking at it. So we have the child, we have the toddler, we have the adolescent, we have those stages. And sometimes, as parents, our expectations differ. We kind of compare child A with child B. So if a child A was talking at age 8 months and child B is not talking at 8 months, we think that child B is slow and child A is the right one. What are those stages in developmental state of a child?
Okay, thank you very much. I think this is a whole lecture you want me to take in just within a few minutes. I'll try my best and say I can collapse everything together. Now, the first thing is that there are principles in child development that we need to understand. The first principle is that every child is unique and different. So we must understand that principle, because once you understand the principle, it helps you to understand how to relate with children. Once you know that every child is unique, even if they are twin. For instance, I have twin and I can see the differences in them. Every child is unique, every child is different. That is why comparison must not be a tool that you put as part of your toolbox as parents. Never compare one child with another, because they are unique and they are different. Another thing is that every child grows in terms of their child development is interdependent. What I mean is that the more you grow physically, it impacts on how you grow emotionally, how you grow socially, and how you grow uh, intellectually. So that is interdependent. So once we know that, we also help the child to be able to grow in all of these domains. So there are domains of development, and in
Mm,
each of these domains, there are developmental stages that are peculiar to each stage. For instance, the domains of development are physical development, social development, emotional development, cognitive development, and moral development. These are five major domains of development, and we must pay attention to each of these domains, because for every stage of development that a child experience, each of these domain of development are critical. So for instance,
mm,
there are ways infants develop that is different from the way a toddler will develop, that is different from a way a preschooler, a grade scholar, and a teenager will develop. So you must understand that the way they behave is different. So the way an infant expresses emotion is different from the way a toddler would do. Also, is different from the way a preschooler would do. So you must understand that first we have the domain of development and we have the stages of development. The domain of development, as I mentioned earlier, you have the physical, the emotional, the social, the cognitive, the moral. The stages of development, you have infancy, toddlerhood, preschooler, grade scholar, and teenagers. Now, these are the stages children will experience. And each of these stages will see peculiar behavior that are unique of it for each child. And I'm going to give you a specific example. So you realize that for when it comes to emotional development, when a child is in that infancy stage, that's emotional stroke, social development. When a child is in that infancy stage, you realize that one critical thing about them, their behavior that is normal, is that they seek for attention. There's what we call social releasers. They seek for attention. Apart from seeking for attention, they cry a lot. You see that in infants. Apart from crying a lot, you see that they sleep a lot. Their basic needs cannot be met by themselves. They have to be met by the caregivers, which is the parents or the primary caregivers around them. So one question infant is asking consistently at that stage, they are not able to express it, the language, because they can't speak expressly at that stage. But one question they are asking fundamentally is the fact that, can I trust the people around me? So it's a question of trust versus mistrust. So trust is the foundation you can build at that infancy stage. If you want a child to grow and become confident of himself or herself, you must set the foundation of trust. That is what infant wants at that stage, because they just came into this world. They don't even know who you were before. You just carried them for 9 months. They've never seen your face before. They came into a different world. That's why the first expression of emotion at the stage of birth is for them to cry. You understand? Why? Because they are in a strange world, they are in a strange place, a strange environment. So they now need to begin to build trust. It's like you meeting somebody for the first time that you never met before, and you establish relationship. You can't just open up yourself to that person. You will need to build trust with the person. So the same thing, infant build trust, but the trust is built dependent on the responses of the parent or the primary caregiver. So how do you respond to them? Are your responses positive or they are more negative? So for instance, there are social releasers that the infant release for them to connect with you, to build that trust and that confidence. Some of the things they do is that when they cry, infant cry not because they feel like crying, they cry because they are not comfortable. They cry because they're hungry. They cry because something is wrong. Because they can't express themselves in language, the only way they express themselves at that stage is through cry. So if cry is a problem to you, then you will respond negatively to the infant. And the more you respond negatively, the more you are making the infant feel that this world is not a secure place. The people around me are not people that can be trusted. So it becomes a fundamental issue in their growing up and in their development. So you must understand that one critical behavior or one critical aspect you must put in place raising infant is must build relationship. Relationship is critical. You cannot raise effective infant when you're absent, whether you are the father, whether you are the mother. That is the period or the beginning where bond and attachment starts. You want your child to be attached to you. You want them to be connected to you. It can never be done in absentia. You must be available. You must build relationship. That is the foundation. Like I said, when it comes to parenting, or like I always say, when it comes to parenting, everything rises and falls on relationship. I repeat, when it comes to parenting, everything rises and falls on relationship. You must build relationship with infant. Critical, very important. As you begin to do that, they start trusting you, and not just you alone. They begin to trust the world they are living in. They begin to see the world as a secure place because they have that relationship with you. So at that infancy stage is very key. I'll give you an example. When a child gets to maybe 5-6 months, if you have paid attention very well, you realize that when the child is alone, maybe on the chair or somewhere, and nobody's giving the child attention, he start crying because they're already bored. And you realize that at that stage, whatever the infant does, when you do in response, the infant respond also. So for instance, if the infant smile and you smile, the infant smile back at you. What is that? It is called the principle of serve and return. It says whatever the infant does is known as serve. Whatever you do in response is known as return. And it helps to build their cognitive and emotional development. Imagine you as an adult, you smile at somebody, and the person look at you with a frown face. How will you feel? But we don't think that this thing applies to children. We just feel that children don't know anything. The truth is that at that stage, they learn through their senses. They might not be able to logically explain the things that they are seeing around, but they're observing those things. And those things begin to form a pattern of behavior. Now, I have a child that is 5 months old. The nanny that takes care of the child, this thing she always does. When he's ready to, a 5-year-old baby, 5-month-old baby, he has started doing the same thing. they absorb the
Mm.
information. So let me start with stop at infancy. But if you want me to go further, I can continue to talk about
Wow.
toddlerhood, behaviors that
Wow.
are applicable.
Let's pause at that infancy, but I will take you back a bit. Talking about the stages of development. Can you tell me those five again or
So
six?
infancy,
Yeah.
toddlerhood,
Yeah.
pre-scholar,
Yeah.
grade scholar, and teenage.
Wow. Hmm. So you've just got my mind in like all of the places looking here and there. But
Mm.
I hear you. Let me ask you this, and maybe I'll keep this till next week. I want to ask of the role of technology in all of this, but I'll keep that till next week. But let me ask you this. It appears that children in this generation are a bit more aware than the older generations.
Okay.
So what a 1 year old is doing now, or a 2 year old, maybe it was a 4 year old or a 5 year old that was doing it before. Are we pushing them too fast, or is it just the way it should be? So it's as if we are shortening the infancy, shortening the toddlerhood stage, shortening the preschooler stage. Is it okay? Do they adjust well, or should we be telling parents take it easy, be calming down?
I think we should tell a lot of parents to calm down. Let a child be a child. Let children be children.
Mm, mm,
Okay, let's put it this way. There are situations where because of increase in knowledge, children are
mm.
getting more aware
Okay.
because of the level of information they are exposed to compared to what we were exposed to growing up. So they are getting more aware. So what, for instance, I got to know maybe at teenage years, somebody maybe in his pre-scholar now already have such information. So
Mm,
there's that increase in knowledge. However, there's also the part that parent plays whereby they want to fast track the process of development. There is a reason why we have those stages. There's no point fast tracking it. That is why in Saint Klein, for instance, you don't enter university until you're a certain age. It is
mm,
empirical base. It's not just somebody just sat somewhere and just came up with that policy because they have looked at the developmental stage. There are certain decisions you cannot make or certain responsibility you can't undo in college when
mm,
you are not gotten to certain age. But for a year, once a child is very intelligent, they say, "Oh, this class is too low for the child. Let's give the child double promotion." And for the parent, it satisfies their ego. It makes them feel happy because their child is having double promotion. But their jump starting process, we must
mm,
embrace process. It's not just about the outcome. We must embrace process. Process is as critical and important as the outcome.
mm. Embrace process. Process is as critical and important as the outcome. So even when you think the child is doing so well, just be doing double promotion, take it easy. Let that child go through the stages. Let's compare
Because the
infancy and
truth is that
okay.
sorry, let me just sorry, apology for that.
No, go
The
ahead.
truth is the fact that we only look at issue from one aspect. We don't look at it holistically. So
Mm,
why you see them, oh, let them move the child to the next level, you are looking at it only from the cognitive aspect that the child is very smart and intelligent. What
yeah.
about the emotional aspect? Does the child have the capacity to handle certain responsibility emotionally? They are also
Mm,
not looking at it from the social aspect. As the child develop enough to be able to socialize, or as it develops social competence at that stage you want the child to go to. So you don't just look at it only from one perspective and say, oh, the child is intelligent beyond this stage. Then let's move the child to the next stage. You must allow the child because, like I mentioned, the principle of development is that all the domains of development are critical, and you must allow the child to grow in all of those domains.
hmm. All the domains are critical. So you should allow them. So when they are children, just let them be children. Let's talk about toddlerhood. So we have the infancy, and a lot of us understand the infancy well. But between toddlerhood and preschooler, there's a bit of confusion there. Can we talk a bit about toddlerhood?
Why I'm laughing? Because people call it the trouble stage, or there's a word they
Exactly.
use.
Yes, the trouble
You
too.
know when you have infant, they are calm, they're always dependent on you. You always carry them around. So
Yes,
not too much of
yes.
wahala or
No,
problem.
once they have been,
But you
once
know,
they have eaten, they are dry, they are fine. But those toddlers, they can run you off the wall in 1 minute.
yes. Why? Because as they begin to transit from infancy to toddlerhood, is that stage where they now begin to realize, I can now walk. I can now use my hand to do things. This hand, I must test it and see what it can do. This leg, I must test it and see what it can do. And part of it is because it's a learning process for them. They start
Mm,
exploring. For instance, as adult, you see a television, you already know what it is. You know the purpose it which is served. For a baby, it doesn't know what it is, but it needs to explore. So they scatter things, they move around. They want to now start doing. Now, at that stage, one critical thing you will realize is that autonomy begin to develop.
yeah.
The sense of autonomy. They want to do things by themselves. They want to wear their clothes by themselves. They want to eat by themselves. They want to do so many things by themselves, wear their shoe by themselves. And when they are trying to do that, and you want to help them to do it, one critical word that is common is no, 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 no. Now your child is beginning to develop a sense of self, the capacity to make decisions, the capacity to say no. But we don't pay attention to that. You know what we pay attention to, and it has always been a problem even when it comes to parenting, is we always look at the outcome and not the goal.
Mm,
If I ask you a
mm,
question and say, will you like your child to become autonomous, to become
I'll say
independent
yes.
of you? What will you
Mm,
say?
I'll say yes.
You say yes. But the child now start doing things that will make him become independent,
Then we fight
yet
it.
you're frustrating the process because you are focusing on the goal and not the process that will make the child get to the goal. And because the process does not look like what you want.
Yeah.
So in the long run, it's still about you, not about the child development.
Mm,
So you are looking at autonomy is a critical aspect of development in toddlerhood because they are beginning to test their limits. They are testing the capacity of the freedom to move around, the freedom to walk, the freedom to crawl, the freedom to use their hand to do so many things. What is needed from you as a guardian or caregiver is your guidance and support.
mm.
Allow them make decisions, but with your guidance and support. We always try to differentiate autonomy from independence. It's adulthood that gets independence. Children do not get independence. You create autonomy for them. The difference is that with independence, there's no supervision or support. But with autonomy, because at that toddler stage, they not fully understand the difference between wrong and right.
Mm.
That is why they will make a lot of mistakes that will frustrate you at that stage. But the mistake is not the problem. It's still the outcome you are focusing. It's a process to getting to the outcome. But in getting there, they will make a lot of mistakes.
Mm.
If you are
Mm.
not build your capacity to embrace the mistake and to see the mistake as part of the process, you'll be frustrated. So you must create an environment for them at that stage that is intolerant or that is tolerant of failure. So when they
Mm.
fail, you are not frustrated. You don't see failure as something that is bad. Because in trying to become autonomous rather, the child wear his shoe by himself, he will put the left in the right on the left. You will be beating the child and screaming and shouting. Why are you screaming and shouting? When you were like the child, you did the same thing. Have you forgotten so fast? But if you understand that it's a process of getting to that point where they want to become autonomous, you will help to correct and guide them. That is what you are supposed to be doing: guide, support,
Mm.
guide, but allowing them to make decisions. You are building a child that will grow up that will not totally depend on you. The child will be able to take decisions even without you being available. So
Mm.
that's one critical aspect in toddlerhood.
Wow. And that is why they call them the terrible twos, because it's
Yeah,
like, my friend,
they're
let me
exploring,
do this thing.
testing their limits, scattering everywhere. We call them little scientists. They scatter, experiment, learning in the process. because they want to
Mm.
know. When they pour water, they want to know. They are learning cause and effects. They want to know so many things. Why is this thing like this? Why is this laptop like this? Why is this phone like this? They will press. Why is this clothes? Let's put so many things. They will do so many things. Trust me. Because, but the only thing is just that at that stage, that's why we talk about support and guidance. You must be careful so that things that are harmful to them, you don't put around them.
Mm.
You understand? So you must be
Mm.
very careful at that stage so that things that are harmful, you don't put around them. You understand? So
Mm.
you must be very careful that you don't put things. That's why even when you buy drugs, they say keep out of the reach of children
Children. True.
because they understand all of these things. They are factored into consideration.
Wow. 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 I'm looking at the time. My next question, I just pray we
It's
can
like there
deal
was
it
a
in the
break.
same time.
That's
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? No, network should behave itself. Hello.
I can
I
hear you
can
very
hear
well.
you. Okay, now. Very good. So my next question, I hope we can do it in like 2, 3 minutes. And I'm curious. So we looked at the infancy and the toddlerhood. At what point do we to discover the gifting of a child? At what point?
At that all loud stage, you can, if you are paying attention, require observation, because you see them in as much as they are exploring, doing everything. Pay attention to one thing that they really, really, really love doing so much.
Hmm.
Pay attention to it. But as they begin to grow, it become more visible in that pre-scholar stage.
Hmm.
Because at that toddler, it is everything, they are just everything. But as they now begin to become more self-aware, they now begin to pay their attention after they have explored everything to a particular aspect. Their passion is driven towards a particular aspect. So you can begin to pay attention to it. If it's, for instance, is clothes, every time they play with your dress, play with this thing, changing colors, just pay attention. It's all about observation. You will observe, you will discover. Or maybe they just like sport. Even in infancy, you can see, for instance, I have two children. One, whenever you show him phone, he's always paying attention. It doesn't mean, I'm not saying maybe he will become an IT expert or something, but at least he give you an idea of someone who is have a curious mind, always, paying attention to things. Unlike the other person, he love play with people once you understand. So these are things that once you observe very well and you pay attention to consistency. I'm not just talking on something that just happened once. You understand? You pay attention to consistency over time. You understand? At least over time. That's what we do with research. When you have a lot of themes on a particular subject, and that subject is quite a lot, we say, oh, this might be the clue to the answer. So pay attention to consistency, observe consistency, you will discover. But most times we don't. We just it's children now, children. Let them, do that.
Hmm. Wow. Mr. Thank God, thank you so much for your time this morning. We will
Always
pause
a
here
pleasure.
until we'll come back next week. We're still continuing next week and we will move away from infancy and toddlerhood. I want to look at the effect of society, the effect of technology on our children development. Thank you so much for your time. Looking forward to
Always
see
a
you
pleasure.
again next week.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye for now. Wow, time just sped past. That was so much of information from Mr. ThankGod. Thank you so much, TG, for all of that information. Took us through who a child is, the stages, the domains, and I'm sure you have gleaned something. Even if you have stopped being a parent, you're about to become a grandparent. And guess what? There's so many children around you that you would need to provide support for. And there are parents that you also need to educate. And that's why I want to ask you to please like this video, share it. Let somebody out there know that there is something called Knocks to Nuggets. Let's spread the word. Let help people come in contact with this information and let's make our world a better place. And until I come your way next week, same time, same station, with the same topic actually. We're still continuing with Thank God Ocheho next week, Monday. So until then, never forget it. If you can think it, you can be it, and you can have it. And guess what? Together we win. God bless you. Enjoy the rest of the week. Bye for now.